Again, ladies and gents, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to kick things off in a couple of minutes. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. My name's Greg Smith. I'm the head of marketing here at Seafish, and it's fantastic to have you here today. Throughout the session, please remember to have your microphone muted, and it's great to see faces. So you're welcome to have your camera on or off. That's up to you. We will be filming today's session, recording the session, just to let you know. And if you'd like to ask any questions regarding our presentation and slides, please feel free to do so using the chat function, where we're going to monitor everything and we'll then pick up as many questions as we can at the end during our Q&A section. So we're going to give everyone just a couple more minutes and then we'll get kicked off very shortly. Okay, everybody, we're going to get things underway then. Thank you again for joining us this morning. If you haven't yet put your microphone on mute, if you could do so, that would be much appreciated. Welcome. You're going to hear from three of us today. Myself, Greg Smith, Head of Marketing at Seafish, and your host for today's webinar. Our award-winning agency partner and creative director, Alice Wills from Lux, and our esteemed marketing manager and brand guru, Naomi McCann, also from Seafish. We've been on a bit of a consumer marketing journey here at Seafish over the past 18 months or so. And today's session is all about bringing you, our thriving UK seafood industry, up to speed on the Seafish marketing strategy and our plans for the future. We're going to run you through some information and key updates about the launch of our new consumer initiative, Love Seafood, which is going to happen on October 1st this year. So let's go back in time a bit to kick things off and look at where and how our quest began. We're big fans of starting a journey with a clear focus on why we're doing what we're doing. The marketing team here at Seafish are essentially a cog in an organizational machine which powers a much bigger industry vessel. There's an analogy for you. So it was important for us to ensure our future ambition for consumer marketing was linked intrinsically to our organizational objectives and vision. And you can see that here on this slide. We ultimately exist to produce work that will influence people's attitudes towards seafood. That's our marketing ambition. That in turn will positively affect UK consumption, and that will help support a thriving industry. Everything we do works to support this chain of vision, objective, and ambition. So what's different about our new approach? Well, we've recognised that whilst it provides some seafood support for the consumer nation, our current platform, Fish is the Dish, was struggling a little bit to have a profound longer-term impact on consumer attitudes. And ad hoc campaigns like Seafood Week that create small spikes weren't having the desired impact on the decline of consumption. To address this, we've built a strategy around our marketing ambition. And that ambition, once again, is to positively influence people's attitudes around seafood. The strategy we've built contains elements that our board and supply chain panels have agreed fits far better as a long-term initiative and will provide industry with a collective platform to operate from. So here's a quick overview or a run through of some of those key strategic elements and changes that we've made. We've built a better understanding of our consumer audience groups and their complex journey with seafood. And we've done this using Experian data and robust research and insights. We're moving to an always-on approach to our campaigns and our advertising, avoiding the ad hoc and promoting a constant drumbeat of seafood activity across the UK. We've developed a new strategic brand platform to drive and carry all of our activity, recognizing that this is the beginning of a 20-year initiative to shift attitudes of an entire generation, not a short burst tactical move. We're driving a single emotively powerful message for everyone to get behind, based on a platform of enjoyment that promotes choice, convenience, and balanced living. Everything we do is built around an industry-driven core. All of our activity and campaigns are guided by the supply chain and sector representatives who are on our Love Seafood group. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about that later on. So we're confident that this is the right mix of marketing directives to really ignite and amplify the seafood consumption message across the UK. And without further ado, I'm going to pass you to Alice, our agency partner and creative director from Lux, and she's going to take you through more of the detail around what we are planning for year one, and probably more importantly, what it's going to look and feel like. Alice, over to you.
Great, thanks, Greg. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be at this stage now where we can present the new brand and consumer marketing initiative to the people we've built it for. You, the seafood industry. It's been a year and a half in the making, a really interesting project and one that we at Lux are really passionate about. It's purpose-led, it's about influencing change and having a positive impact on the seafood industry by supporting it to thrive and grow. This really does mark an ambitious new chapter for the organisation, and Love Seafood is this new era of its consumer marketing. So today I'm going to take you through how we've built Love Seafood, the new approach to marketing we'll be taking, and the plans for year one, which we'll be launching in October. So where we began. When we were appointed last year, we were given the brief of answering how do we positively influence consumers' attitudes towards seafood consumption. From our perspective, really, to influence people's attitudes in order to encourage a certain behaviour, in this case, eating more seafood, you have to connect with people based on what matters to them. And you have to really understand what's important to them in their everyday lives. And ultimately, this consumer marketing initiative has to inspire the nation to fall in love with seafood. And in order to do that, we need to reach the hearts and minds of them. So how are we going to do that? So in order to inspire the nation to fall in love with seafood, we need to connect with them on an emotional level based on what matters to them and to show them how seafood fits into their daily lives. And to do that, we need to put the two most important groups of people at the heart of this marketing initiative. The people whose hard work, passion and craft make it happen, the industry, and the people who get to enjoy the efforts of all their work, the consumer. So what will the approach be to the Love Seafood marketing? First and foremost, it's going to be powered by lifestyle. It's going to be centered around what's relevant to the wide consumer base that we're targeting in their day-to-day lives. And that might be about positioning seafood as the ultimate superfood, whether you're a time-poor young professional, a family who's living on a tight budget, an empty nester who's perhaps looking to reduce the amount of red meat that they eat, and someone who's looking to try new flavors, cuisines at their local restaurant. This marketing initiative has to showcase all of the great things that seafood can offer them. And it's providing the abundance of solution to these lifestyle needs. You know, it supports balanced living. Seafood is a healthy option. It's high in protein, low in fat, but it's also a really tasty treat. It has an abundance of convenience options. It's simple and easy to cook and eat. And there's a choice of variety of flavor, but also price point too. And times and occasions of when you can enjoy it, and formats from fresh to tin to frozen. We will be showcasing the incredible stories of the businesses across the supply chain. We need to provide a platform, and we will provide the tools for industries to promote their businesses. And as Greg mentioned, the approach to marketing will be this always on approach, a constant drumbeat, so that we can continuously connect and engage with consumers. So looking at year one, launching in October, we've developed a marketing campaign, Feel Good Food, which later I'll show you a preview of some of the creative and activities we've been planning. Part of year one, industry partnerships and collaborations will be key. People thrive on connecting with people, hearing and sharing stories, and the industry will be our vehicle to engaging and connecting with the consumer. We've developed a centralized theme of comfort. Given the impact that COVID has had on all areas of society and the continued uncertainty it brings people, all of our activity will be mindful of this. And our aim is to bring comfort to people through all the accessible, convenient, and great options seafood can offer them. We will have dedicated work streams, and by work streams, we mean our communication pillars that form the foundation of all our activity. And having dedicated work streams ensures that topics are consistently weaved throughout the year in all of our comms. So our work streams are as follows. Brand. So that's about communicating who Love Seafood is, what it does, and the benefits that that offers to consumers. Positive industry, celebrating and showcasing those in the industry. Seasonal, promoting species that are in season, but also species that are readily available and attainable to people. And fish and chips, galvanizing the nation's love of fish and chips. It can really be our gateway to motivate and inspire them to eat more seafood. And who are we looking to target? We've developed, through a lot of research, three key segments that will sit across millennials and baby boomers, and they will be our primary focus for year one. So given the significance of and the integral role that the industry will play in the Love Seafood initiative, we really wanted to use this as an opportunity to emphasize the skills, hard work, and commitment of the people that make up the seafood industry. And so to communicate this to consumers, we've developed a name for all those that contribute to the sector: Seafood Champions. Seafood Champions will be the core part of our always-on marketing activity, and later Naomi will tell you more about how you can get involved. So moving on to the look and feel, so I'm really excited to share this with you all today. We need to appeal to a broad range of people, and we really need to invite them in. And therefore, our overall aim with the branding and the creative has been about coming across as very approachable, friendly, and upbeat. You'll see here that our logo, Love Seafood by Seafish, we felt it was really important to include by Seafish. This brings confidence and a real sense of authority to the initiative, which will aid trust and assurance in the consumers. Our colour palette's been inspired by the sea and seafood, and we'll be making use of photography that really chimes with popular culture, feels natural, and brings a human face to the brand. When developing the messaging, we really want to tap into those everyday lifestyle needs. So that might be for people who are looking for something for the whole family, or those that are time poor and looking for convenience meal options. And we also want to highlight to people how you can use fish instead of another protein for those go-to meals. When looking at the food photography, this really will be the kind of hero. Seafood will always be the hero. And what we were keen to do with the photography is, again, to really kind of have that vibrancy, but to make it feel quite everyday, you know, rooted in people's day-to-day living, but also making use of certain styles that are quite common on social media platforms like Instagram, and utilizing those to really communicate the convenient options that seafood can offer. So bringing it all together, presenting to you the year one campaign concepts for launch. We've devised a series of marketing assets, materials, looking at how we can utilize and roll this out across digital, but also in out-of-home opportunities too. And we're really pleased to see the brand come to life like this. So moving into some of the marketing activity, we will be taking a fairly digital-led approach, but key to all Love Seafood activity is really about encouraging people to get involved. So we'll be hosting virtual events on Facebook, on Instagram, that people can enjoy from the comfort of their own home. We'll be providing people with informative resources and tips about how they can enjoy seafood, how to buy and cook seafood as well. So this is just to give you a wee preview of what to expect. But also a core part of the activity is about being interactive and actually about getting the consumer to get involved and to share their seafood stories. We want them to share the moments that they have of enjoying seafood with their friends and families. But we'll also be providing useful tools like step-by-step guides and videos to show them really how easy and accessible seafood can be. And using our seafood champions, which will be a real core part of our activity, we will be sharing those stories of the industry from the processors, the fishers, the chefs, the retailers, all those involved in making it happen, and showing the stories through a great storytelling across our digital platforms, from videos to photography. But we'll also be developing tools so that we can give you what you need in your businesses to also encourage your customers to get involved and to highlight all the great things that seafood can offer. So on that note, I will hand you over to Naomi, who's going to talk you through about how you can get involved.
Thank you. As Alice has shown, industry really is at the heart of Love Seafood, and there are lots of ways to get involved. In order for Love Seafood to influence people's attitudes towards seafood, we need you. We are one small piece in this thriving industry and need your help to amplify the message of Love Seafood in order to achieve our 20-year initiative to increase consumption. Our work to date building the strong foundations for Love Seafood has included industry representation from catch to plate through our steering group, rightly named the Love Seafood Group. Members of LFG have been integral in helping advise and shape the initiative to date, and will continue to do so in the coming years. This truly helps us ensure industry is at the heart. Ahead of our launch, we will be creating assets that you'll be able to utilise in helping launch Love Seafood. And in the months post-launch, we will share a marketing toolkit, as well as continuing to develop assets into the new year and beyond. Following the webinar today, there will be communications with more detailed information on how you can get involved, so watch this space. Finally, I'd just like to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure being able to share what we've been working on with you today. From our change in strategy to ensure we can positively influence consumer attitudes towards seafood, to how we built the foundations of the brand, our year one strategy, including our look and feel, and lastly, how to get involved. October 1st really can't come quick enough. I'll now pass you back to Greg for some Q&A.
Naomi and Alice, thank you very, very much indeed. And again, thank you to all our attendees for listening and taking part. Whilst you've been listening, we've been gathering some questions. I've had some sent to me from different businesses and stakeholders on email, and we've had a couple on here as well. So we're going to look into some of those just now. I will read them out and then do my best to answer those for you, or pass some of them around to other members of our team as well. We've had one just a couple of seconds ago from David M. Hello, great presentation. Thank you, David, and intro. Is the campaign about eating more fish generally, or eating more UK sourced fish? For example, if we were working with Alaskan stroke Norwegian product, is this aligned? Yes, it is and will be. And the answer to that is it's a bit of everything. So without trying to cover all the bases and spread ourselves too thin, with our work stream seasonal, we will highlight and champion different species and products throughout the year. So there will be an opportunity for UK sourced or UK harvested fish and businesses to be involved with certain elements of it. And the same goes to Alaskan, Norwegian or Icelandic product as well. So the idea there is to make sure we are all encompassing, if that makes sense. Let me just read out. Oh, there's another question from Leslie G. Thank you, Leslie. Is there anything targeted for just fish and chip shops? Yes, there is, and there will be. So one of our main work streams, as Alice mentioned, is fish and chips. We are tapping into that nostalgic UK treat and the gateway for a lot of people into seafood through their fish and chips and the fish in the portion. We will be doing targeted activity through that work stream for consumers. And we'll also be looking at some B2B activity for fish and chip shops for businesses towards the end of this year and into next year. So the short answer to your question is yes. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet for the B2B stuff, but we're working on it. And we will make sure we have industry at the table, the fish and chip shops at the table through our LSG to discuss and agree on what's going to work best in that respect. And we're conscious that there's a bit of a recovery period just now that businesses are going through following the pandemic and COVID. So we need to keep a close eye on that and make sure whatever we're producing and creating is aligned with those nuances as well. I've had a couple of crackers on email over the last day or so ahead of this. So let me read into those just now. So when can we expect, this is from an anonymous sender, when can we expect to see an increase in seafood sales? What a great question. I think it's important for us to mark that this is a long-term initiative. We're looking at 20 years to change the decline in consumption and flip it on its head. And that's work across a generation, as I've said. So I don't think, as an NDPB as well, representing industry, it's tough for us removed from the product to be able to have a direct impact on sales straight away. But that's where the businesses that we represent and support can really have an impact. So we would hope over time we will start to see that change and that increase, and we'll do everything we can to work towards that. We've had a couple more questions on the chat just now, which I will continue to read through. Industry partnership and collaboration from Selene. Could you elaborate on what this would look like and how we could get involved? Love the new branding. Thank you so much. What I'm going to do here, I think, is bring in Andy Gray, who is our trade marketing manager. He is working on the B2B side of things and looking at some of that industry partnership and collaboration, and can maybe give you a little bit more information there, Selene, on how we're going to tackle that. Andy, are you there?
Indeed. Hi, Selene. Andy here at Seafish. Yes, as was mentioned slightly earlier, our core focus in the initial stages, in the first number of months through to the end of the financial year, end of March 2021, will be those mentioned sectors: independent restaurants, fish and chip shops, and independent retailers. But at the same time as activating some direct support to those particular sectors, we will be starting conversations with wider business stakeholders to talk about involvement, best ways forward for participation in the initiative, along the lines of what Greg intimated just a few minutes ago with regards to the fish and chip shop sector, so that stakeholders are at the table when we are discussing plans, discussing opportunities. So I know I've been in touch with you directly, Selene, just recently. So those conversations will now start to move apace with regards to participation and making best use of opportunities.
Thank you very much, Andy, and thank you, Selene. Philip, a great question from you. Is there any activity on non-levy paying species or formats? And will you look at those to boost your marketing budget by requesting contributions from those businesses? I don't think I can answer the second part of that question, but our corporate relations director, Hazel, might be able to. However, for the first part, before we go across to her, yes, I don't think we're going to shut the door on any species. Our focus will be on levy paying species. We are conscious that other people, salmon is one of the big five. We don't command a levy for salmon, and we're not going to shut the door on consumers sharing and promoting salmon content too, because it's still fish, it's still people eating fish, and we want to encourage that over 20 years. Hazel, I don't know if you want to add to that alongside the request for contributions on non-levy species.
Sure. So the content that we put out over the first few years of this initiative might feature individual identifiable fish species or mention them, but it has to be, we have to remember that we're not advertising those products or advertising a specific product. We're using those species to achieve our aim of shifting attitudes and perceptions about the whole of seafood. We're aware that we need to circulate around all the relevant species or types of species, though, and ensure that consumers are familiar with and introduced to the whole of the amazing range of seafood that's available. So we will do that. But yeah, we're using these different fish and seafood species to, as a prop, as content to help achieve our aim of shifting attitudes and perceptions to seafood as a whole. And then, Greg, just remind me, what was the second part of the question about levy? Oh, there it is, sorry. If there is activity, will you look to boost? So not specifically in relation to this initiative, Philip. That would be another question for later on.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Hazel. Another one from Jason Holland at the end of the chat just now. How do you intend to reach those UK consumers that don't incorporate fish into their diets as yet? That's a superb question, Jason. We have, through the Experian data research that we've done, we've looked a lot at the customer journey and those who are always eating fish, sometimes eating fish or seafood, not really eating it, hardly ever eating it, never eating it. What we found is those who are never eating it, there aren't many of them. I think it's about 8 or 9% of the UK population. To be honest, we don't want to spread ourselves too thin, particularly for year one, probably year 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. So whilst we're not completely ignoring them and shutting the door on them, they will still be able to get access to our activity and our website. We're not targeting them. So we're focusing on the people who are already eating fish, and in the baby boomer audience group and segments, a lot of those people are eating fish already. But we're also trying to tap into those who are sometimes or rarely eating it, because we believe they are ripe for the picking, and they are the people who we can have the biggest influence on over time. And that is our ambition.
Can I just jump in there, Greg, and just expand on that? Andy at Seafish. Hi, Jason. Yes, in addition, though, to the points made by Greg, looking at 2 out of the 3 chosen sectors we're looking to support directly in the initial stages, independent restaurants and fish and chip shops, there are opportunities to speak to consumers and customers of those respective business channels that don't choose fish or seafood in its wider sense. So in fish and chip shops, we know there are lots of customers that don't necessarily purchase a fish-based product. Likewise, in restaurants, we know that the seafood offer as a percentage of the overall number of items on a menu is often very low, and so there's opportunities there to encourage businesses to increase the seafood offer and to speak to those consumers who don't normally choose fish.
Andy, thank you very much. And Jason, thank you for your question. Laura, a great question from you, which is, with people increasingly making choices about their diets based on the environmental impacts of what they consume, is there a strand of this campaign that will talk about the sustainability / lower environmental impact of some fish / seafood? A great question. The short answer to that is yes, there is. One of the work streams identified is positive industry. And we're looking at how we can start to take some of that messaging and some of those challenges that we know are becoming bigger and more prevalent into the consumer world and package those up in a way that consumers understand them, will identify with them, and won't see them as so much of a barrier. What we have found, and we will admit for year one, is coronavirus and COVID has kind of knocked the wheels off some of the sustainability approach in general. So we've dialed it down a little bit and stripped it back a little bit, because people are now looking for comfort. They're looking for to trade down on certain products and SKUs because we're in a recession. So sustainability has dropped a little bit. on their list of concerns or worries, but it's still there. And we're confident that over the first 6 months of activity for Love Seafood, we will seed and integrate that positive industry message. And then over time and into year 2, we will start to build on it. And businesses, seafood industry stakeholders will be a key part of telling that story through the Seafood Champion format. Okay, I don't see any other questions on the chat at the moment, but we still have a little bit of time, so please feel free to drop those in just now. Let me go to another couple of crackers that I have on the email from yesterday. How will we know if this is working, Greg? That's a great question. We are working with 4 agency partners to deliver Love Seafood for year 1. So we went to tender at the beginning of this year to bring 4 creative agency and media agency partners on board to help us do this work and deliver it and make sure we could get best return and value for money as well. We have a robust benchmarking and KPI system in development at the moment that we're setting up for launch that will allow us to take our top line, our overarching objectives for Love Seafood, which is to build awareness of the brand, but also the seafood species, seafood consumption in general, to change consumers' attitudes and perceptions towards seafood over time. And we've then broken down those objectives into other manageable metrics across our different channels, whether it's advertising, social, website, and we've then broken those down into individual KPIs. Where possible, the benchmarking comes in from previous work that we've done. So we'll look to see how we're having a more profound shift and impact and effect on it. And we'll continue to then benchmark against our year 1 Love Seafood efforts into the future. So we're going to be keeping an incredibly close eye on how this is doing and reporting monthly on our progress with Love Seafood and all the different channel activity.
Greg, can I dive in there as well?
Of course, Hazel.
Just to say that it's really important for everybody involved in this to grasp that we're working here as a public body in partnership with industry. So we're trying to do what only a public body can do, which is take this long-term investment in changing attitudes and perceptions, building this brand in order to achieve that aim. We appreciate that the businesses have got shorter term needs. So it's a bit of long-term, short-term, bit of bothism there. We need both to make this really work. And whereas we are looking at changes in attitudes and perceptions, with changes in sales coming hopefully at least a few years down the line, I'm not going to wait till the end of 20 years to see an increase in consumption. But we do understand that businesses have shorter term needs as well. So we're going to be able to work this so that businesses can use some of our assets and messages and so on for shorter term promotions themselves if they need spikes in activity for their own individual business. So yeah, just to let people know that we really have to consider what can a public body do in partnership with private industries. So we're looking short-term, long-term attitudes and perceptions, building the brand versus some immediate revenue and profit requirements for businesses, trying to take that both sides of the coin approach.
Hazel, thank you very much. We've had a couple more questions on the chat that I will jump back to just now, if that's okay with everybody. Sarah has asked, do you have representation from all areas of industry on your LSG group, and will you recruit more people to fit if you find gaps? It's a great question. Yes, we will. At the moment, we have good cross-industry representation. That's across the different devolved administrations, across businesses of different sizes as well, and across the supply chain. Absolutely, we are open to bringing on board new members if we spot any gaps. We're about to host our 4th Love Seafood Group meeting next week. We're doing those digitally now because of everything that's happened, but we expect those to continue for as long as Love Seafood continues. So we will keep very close eye on the membership makeup of that group. Philip, you've asked another great question here. Have you had a good reception on Love Seafood from UK retailers, and do you think they will be able to help push the Love Seafood campaign through in-store magazines and their social media outlets? I would love to think so for the future. And I think for the future is a key element for us there. We know we can't be everything to everyone from year one onwards. So the multiple retailers in particular they're not low-hanging fruit for us right now. We would like to build Love Seafood up a little bit and then present it to them. We would like to work with organizations like yours, Philip, in the background, some of our big processors to interact with and negotiate with the retailers in year one for Love Seafood. We're conscious that some of those guys as well work 12 months in advance, so they will need lots of notice to be able to adjust their own calendars. But we want to do that just now. So what we will do for companies like yours is we will provide as much information on our plans, our calendar activity for the future. So you're then able to help us support us having those conversations with the retailers, and we will build up with the multiples from year 2 onwards. That's the ambition at the moment. So we will start on a slightly smaller, lower, more independent level to get a foothold and to build a little bit of kudos and presence, and then we will be able to package that up for the retailers and say, look, we have a trialed and tested beast here, and we'd love to get you involved. David, we've had a question from you as well. Given that British Food Fortnight sits under Love British Food, I think that the Love Seafood name fits well with the land and sea approach to supporting producers, farmers, and eating seasonality and sustainability. Feels like a good joined up message. Yeah, it does. And I think we're open to those kind of suggestions and opportunities at the moment. We'd be lying if we said that the whole love thing hadn't been done before. I'd like to think that we have a very unique approach to the way we are doing it, but the actual message, love seafood, love pork, it's out there. And you're right, Love British Food is too. And I think we'll spend the next 6 months or so working with different organizations, other partners, NGOs, government, DEFRA, to look at opportunities for building up those messages, not just in the sea, but land too. I think if you create that kind of momentum over time for different product categories that then all marry and mirror and match with each other, it will do nothing but support the consumer journey. Josette, you've asked a question as well. How can we get our hands on the assets to promote Love Seafood on 1st of October? Thank you. We will be, it's a great question actually, and links to one we've had on email too. We will be producing elements and promoting them through our asset bank. So Seafish has an asset bank where we will post a whole host of Love Seafood assets, collateral for launch, the stuff you're talking about, and thereafter toolkits and everything else for businesses to use. So we can make links to an awareness of that place available in the coming days. And we will make sure they go up there. We will also have notifications where we can on our website, our Seafish website, to make sure people are aware of where these are available and how they can be downloaded and accessed. We'll also put messaging across all of our channels too, particularly social, again with links back to either our asset bank or other elements so that they cannot be missed. We will do everything we can to share this as widely as we can. I think, unless there are any other pressing or burning questions just now, thank you very much for all the kind comments as well, guys, that we're seeing on the chat. That's really, really helpful and encouraging. And unless there's anything else super pressing just now, I think we'll look to wrap up this session. So this marks the end of our Love Seafood session. And on behalf of Seafish, our partners, Naomi and Alice, and the entire seafood industry, thank you very much for taking part. We're going to be in touch again in the coming days with follow-up survey, more details on how you can get involved, and access to a recording from today's session as well. So you're very welcome to look back over it if you'd like a refresher on what we've discussed. Take care, everyone, in this world, and hopefully see you all soon. Thank you very much for joining us.